Are you a basketball player who's at the point of the season where practice has started to suck? Well, today we're going to talk about a simple habit that you should start developing and you can implement at practice tomorrow that will make an immediate impact on your team. It'll help practice be more positive. It'll help your practices be more energetic. And it'll also help you stand out as a leader on your team, no matter how much playing time you get. So let's jump in and discuss. Welcome back to Hard Smart Together. I'm Coach Dave. I'm here every week to help you become a better player by teaching about the mindset, fundamentals, and basketball IQ that will give you the edge to become a better player, to achieve your goals, and to enjoy the game even more. So today we are talking about those kind of dog days of the season where you get to the point to where practice just kind of sucks. And that is not where you should be at. Practice should always be energetic. It should always be positive. It should also always be something that you look forward to going to. But let's admit it, maybe you're at that point in the season. It doesn't matter if you're having a good season or a bad season. You know, you can still get, even with a great season going on, you can get to that point to where practices just aren't very, enjoyable and not very positive. And if you find yourself going home, talking to your parents, talking to your friends about, man, practice today sucked. The coaches were on us. It's just hard I gotta go to practice. You don't have to go to practice. You get to go to practice. But today we're going to talk about ways that you can make an impact on practice, a habit that you can start creating tomorrow, that you should start creating tomorrow. They will make your practices much more positive, much more energetic. You'll start making an impact on your team. And as I said, you'll start being viewed as kind of a leader on your team. Doesn't matter how much playing time you're getting in the games. In practice, you'll be a leader and you'll stand out to coaches, you'll stand out to players. So what is that habit that you need to create? I'm going to take a step back and say, I've been invited to a lot of different practices to observe practices across all different levels. And typically when I've been brought in as an observing coach, the coaches there will always kind of carve out a portion of practice and say, hey, why don't you take a portion of practice and kind of give a talk to our team or our teams. And throughout the years, the same observation happened to me over and over again. Almost every practice I went to, it didn't matter the level of team. It could be a youth league, a club team, it could be a high school team, a college team. It just didn't matter. Typically, the thing that I noticed at practice that I ended up talking about was the lack of sound, the lack of noise in the practice, the lack of voices, the lack of communication amongst players. You always heard coaches yelling, coaches giving drills, coaches giving instructions, coaches voices, but I never really heard, rarely I should say, there are some great teams that there's a lot of voices in practice, but I never really heard the energy that came from the voices of the players in practice. And so my talk was always about that. My talk was always about ways that players could communicate with each other that would make an impact on their team. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is communication. And speaking of communication, I'm always, coming up with resources that you can have and download that'll help you on your journey to becoming a better player. And I've talked about one in the past, which is my list of intangible skills that you as a player should be really focusing on and working on. And communication is number one. In fact, I'll put the link below again on that download. It's simply www.hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. Again, that's hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. There's 7 other skills other than communication. And on this checklist, it's just a checklist. And on this checklist, it'll have some tips for you and some reminders of how to bring communication to your team, along with the other 7 intangibles that you should be implementing to make yourself a better player and make yourself stand out. So I'll put that link below. But today we're going to talk about the number 1 on that list, which is communication. And, I'm going to talk today about just 3 simple ways that you can start using your voice as a player in practice. And by doing so, like I said, you're going to make a huge impact on your team. You're going to make your team a winning team. There's an old saying, a quiet gym is a losing gym. You want a gym that's not quiet. When you come into a practice as an outsider, you want to hear a buzz. When you hear that buzz, all those voices, all that information flying around, you know that that's probably either a really good team or on their way to being a really good team. So that's what we want to create in your practice, and you can help do that by implementing this habit. So the first way that you can start communicating better is by using names. You say, well, I use names. What are you talking about? But I'm talking about in practice. If you're passing a ball to a teammate, you should be using their name. If you're asking for the ball, you should be using names. Okay? On defense, when you're communicating on defense, you should be using names. So why names? Because names shine a spotlight on people. They make people feel special. They most importantly, they grab their attention. And in a very short instant on the basketball court, whether it's practice or games or whatever, you need to convey some information and you need to grab people's attention. If you want the ball, it better be, Coach Dave. Not ball, Coach Dave. If you're passing the ball to somebody, how many times have you made a great pass and that player has turned their head and gotten hit in the side of the head or made a cut or whatever the case might be, and there's a turnover where you pass the ball. But if you set a name, John, Sue, whoever it is, your teammate, grab their attention. Then they turn around. Oh, yeah, there's the ball. Communicating on defense. All coaches want you to communicate more on defense. But by using names, it's better. Dave, I got your help. Whatever the case might be, I got your help. On ball coming. Get through the screen, go over the top, whatever it is, the communication that you can do on defense to help organize your team. Using names calls out people's attention so they know, oh yeah, he's talking to me. And when you start getting names flying around a gym, that is one way to kind of create that buzz. You're going to help your teammates feel more special, call their attention out. You're going to help your team become a better defensive team. You're going to help your team cut down on turnovers. There's just so many things that by calling out your different players' attention, by using names, it's going to help your team and help your team's communication. What's the second way that you can start communicating and creating that buzz during practice? Celebrating all the small wins that happen during practice. What do I mean by small wins? You've seen, great teams like, Duke or North Carolina or, professional teams, great teams that celebrate people taking charges. They come running over, they say great defensive play, great charge, they help up their teammate. Yes, that is one place that you can start celebrating small wins. But how about nice pass, great shot, great help, great closeout? Name and then the information, the celebration of small wins. You can start creating a positive atmosphere by picking up your teams. Okay? Coaches, just the general nature of us is to be kind of negative. It comes off as kind of negative. Coaches are trying to help you, trying to make you better. But their tone can come off as negative. Why? Because we're always looking for things to improve. We're always looking for what you're doing wrong, right? Now, that's not saying that every coach is always negative, but in a practice, especially when you're trying to prepare for the next game or get better and improve, the tone can be kind of negative, right? And if you find yourself at home with your parents saying, man, it just seems practice is negative, you need to look in the mirror, because you as a player need to take responsibility for the atmosphere of your practice. You need to make it positive. And one of the ways that you can do that is by really emphasizing on celebrating small wins with your voice. You get names and small win celebrations, constant celebrations. And I'm not saying be a cheerleader, jumping up and down on the sideline. I'm just saying that with your voice, celebrate these wins by acknowledging the great plays that are being made, acknowledging the good things that players are doing, acknowledging your teammates, acknowledging your coaches. You get all these positive acknowledgments going on with names. Now you've created twice as much of a buzz in practice. And you want to see that negative energy turn to positive energy? It will be catching. Let me tell you, it will be catching. So what's the third way that you can use communication and use your voice to make an impact on practice and make it not suck as much as maybe it's sucking right now? By giving your teammates reminders. What do I mean by that? Reminders aren't just for games, okay? When your coach says, okay, I want to run, and maybe it's a new drill, maybe it's an old drill, right? Your coach says, hey, run 3-man weave. Help give some reminders maybe to some players who, hey, we need 3 lines. Hey, make sure and make your cut wide. Hey, make sure and use names on passes. Hey, make sure all the things that your coach wants to happen, right? Whatever those points that he wants or he or she wants to emphasize in that drill, okay? Those are great opportunities to be kind of a coach on the floor during practice and help with the reminders so that your coach doesn't come out with that negative attitude and pointing out what you guys are doing wrong, because you guys are already taking care of it together, right? And if you're the one that starts issuing these reminders and helping your teammates, helping your coaches by helping your teammates, people are going to start looking at you as kind of a leader on the floor. Even if you're not, you could be last person coming off the bench, but you could be one of the most valuable assets at practice for your coaches, for your teammates, for everybody. And when you start being viewed as a leader, then the coach starts saying, man, if they're a leader in practice like this, maybe I need to give them more of an opportunity, right? Maybe I need to give them some more attention. So, helping your teammates with reminders is the third way. So those 3 ways that you can start using your voice at practice tomorrow. This is a habit that you need to create going forward in your career. But 3 ways is start using names. Start celebrating all the small wins that are happening for your teammates. And start helping out your teammates and your team with reminders. Okay? And you start doing those 3 things, and then that starts growing on your team, and other people start using names. Other people start celebrating wins. Other people start giving reminders. Then somebody walks into your practice, and they're going to feel a buzz, and they're going to say, man, this is either a really good team or they're on their way to being a really good team. So those are your tips for the week. What I want you to do this week is implement these things. Start doing these things at practice. Start using names, start using reminders, start celebrating wins, and leave some comments below if you see a difference. Tell me how the energy changes in practice. Tell me how the positive atmosphere starts developing in practice. Tell me how much your practices aren't sucking as much maybe as they have been. So that's your homework for the week. Start implementing those things in practice. Again, hey, thanks for all the likes and the follows. Love to see those, but I want to see some comments as well and get some interaction going. Find out how things are going for you guys out there in the field. So again, until next week, make sure that you play hard, you play smart, and most importantly, you play together. Hey, see you next week.